Now, in 1940, hundreds of civilians in small boats set sail to rescue 400,000 British troops surrounded by German forces on the beaches of northern France. Dunkirk has gone down in history, and now the story is being told for a new generation in a film by director Christopher Nolan.
Katherine Tulich spoke with him and one of the stars of the movie, titled, of course, Dunkirk.
There are 400,000 men on this beach.
What has happened is a colossal military disaster.
Obviously, we're used to you taking us into all sorts of cinematic landscapes. What was the personal connection for you for Dunkirk that made you want to make this?
Well, like most British people, Dunkirk's a story that I grew up with. It's sort of in my bones. I don't even remember the first time that somebody told me about the events at Dunkirk. And I think as a British person, it has that amazing resonance that was reinforced greatly by a trip I made about 20 years ago with Emma and a friend of ours who owned a small boat, and we took it across the channel at about the same time of year that the evacuation had taken place. I came away from that experience marveling at the real people who in 1940 really helped out with the evacuation, and it just cemented a fascination within me for what inspired that in people. What was that situation that led to that greatness?
The call went out. We have to go to Dunkirk. Ready on the stern line.
What are you doing? You know where we're going.
Into war, George.
Of course, using your imagination and the sets and everything is extraordinary, but you also have to service the truth. So was that more of a challenge for you in this film?
Well, it was inspiring to me to be able to change my creative process. I've never worked on a real-life story before, and so usually with your writing, you're having to create the whole world that you want the film to take place in, and then figure out how to go through that maze. With this, that was already there. I just had to learn it and get to know it, and then create fictional characters that I could use to guide me and guide the audience through the labyrinth of the events and give them a cohesive picture. I really enjoyed that shift to my creative process.
I mean, you basically take us through 3 scenarios. You take us by land, by sea, and by air. So intertwining those stories, how important was that to give us a point of view from each perspective?
I wanted to tell the story subjectively, and I didn't want to cut to sort of generals in rooms pointing at things on maps. I didn't want the audience knowing things that the characters can't know. I wanted them to experience it through the eyes of people who were there. To build up a coherent picture of the bigger events of Dunkirk, you need different points of view that interact. You need to see the same event from the land, from the sea, from the air, and then start to get a picture of the bigger scale of the evacuation. But I wanted to find a way to do that where I could maintain the suspense and intensity of a subjectively told story.
Tell us a little bit about Tommy, because for the audience, he is really the soul of this film. He really is. We see it through his eyes, don't we?
Yeah, I think it's a great choice on Chris's part to have Tommy introduce you to this world, because he's such an easy character to sympathise and relate to because of his age and because of his compassion. It's clear that he has an overwhelming sense of humanity, or at least that was to me when I read the script, which means that it really sucks you in straight away.
Did you know much about Dunkirk? Did you have to do a lot of research? Did you talk to people?
Yeah, we did a lot of research. I knew about Dunkirk, but I didn't really know the detail. And doing this, we did an unbelievable amount of research and got to know it very well. But I think the thing that people do grow up learning about, even if they don't know how to phrase it, is the spirit of Dunkirk, which is what set the tone in the UK for the rest of the war. This amazing coming together of communities and everyone kind of meshing together to help and support. And I think without it, could have had a very different outcome.
You're a weekend sailor, not the bloody Navy. You should be at home!
There's no hiding from this, son. We have a job to do.
You actually, I think, did shoot some scenes in Dunkirk?
We shot the biggest chunk of it in Dunkirk, yeah.
What was that feeling like? Is the community still very much aware?
It was very sobering. It definitely added something to the film that wouldn't have been there otherwise. There was a definite presence there, and there's a definite feeling about the town. I feel that it is a town still reeling from the shock, because it was so devastated by the war that you can walk down one street, and there's this gorgeous old architecture, houses of, and then you walk to the next and it's this concrete block building where they've had to reinstate it after they've just had the hell bombed out of it, and that is something that definitely had effect on everyone's mood and performances, and I think shows in the film.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall never surrender. We shall never surrender.
Love a good World War II movie. Dunkirk opens on Australian screens this Thursday. Thank you, Katherine Tulich.